Welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're diving into an absolutely epic ancient story of preparation. Just picture it. We're traveling back thousands of years into the heart of a desert under this sparkling night sky with towering pyramids in the background. We are exploring the ultimate royal coronation of a man named Aaron and his sons.
So let's jump right in.
Imagine you're standing right by a warm desert oasis, feeling the breeze. And, well, let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever had to get ready for a super important job? Maybe you had to study really hard for a huge test, or put on a special uniform for a massive game. Well, imagine getting ready for the absolute most important superhero mission in the entire world. A mission that requires the ultimate preparation sequence. Because that is exactly what's happening in our story today.
So God told the leader, Moses, to gather absolutely everyone. I'm talking the entire community, right at the entrance of the giant tent of meeting. This wasn't just some small family get-together, right? This was the great desert assembly. And why? Because it was time to give Aaron and his sons their divine calling. They were literally being chosen directly by God to become priests, the specific people who helped everyone else connect with God.
But here's the thing, you can't just walk into a job like that wearing your normal everyday desert clothes. Before they could even think about putting on their royal uniforms, Moses had to wash them with water. This represents cleansing and humility. Moses brought Aaron and his sons forward and completely washed away all that desert dust. And this wasn't just about taking a regular bath. It showed us that absolutely anyone serving God needs a clean and humble heart, basically leaving all those bad habits behind before stepping into a divine mission.
Okay, now for the really fun part. Piece by piece, Moses dresses Aaron in this amazing glowing outfit. First, the tunic and the sash go on. Next comes this beautiful robe and a special ritual vest. Then Moses places a shining breastplate right on his chest, which actually held these sacred objects called the urim and tumim. Finally, a gorgeous turban is placed on his head, topped with a gleaming gold plate. Aaron is basically being suited up in an ancient superhero suit, exactly the way God ordered.
And that brings us to the next crucial step, the flow of holiness. Moses takes this very special, incredibly sweet-smelling anointing oil. First, he anoints the tabernacle, the giant tent where God's presence lived and everything inside it. Then he sprinkles the altar 7 times to make it totally holy. And finally, that golden oil is poured right onto Aaron's head. It flows all the way down over his brand new turban, which is just a beautiful way of showing that God's special power and presence are resting right there on him.
Now, all of this oil pouring brings us to a massively important word, consecration. Consecration essentially means being fully 100% dedicated to God's service. That special oil was kind of like a glowing badge of honor. It signified that Aaron's life, his beautiful new clothes, and honestly everything he did from this moment forward were completely set apart. He wasn't just a regular guy walking around in the desert anymore. He was a consecrated priest.
Next up in this energetic story, they had to present special offerings. Aaron and his sons stepped forward and carefully laid their hands on the heads of a mighty bull and a strong ram. This was basically their way of saying, hey, these offerings represent us. Moses then used the offering to purify that magnificent altar, placing the blood on its horns all the way around and then burning the rest exactly as God had instructed. This made absolutely sure that everything was perfectly pure, completely forgiven, and totally ready for God's holy presence.
Now we get to a highly unique ritual that you can actually do along with me right now. Moses took the blood from the ram of consecration and placed it on Aaron's right ear. Go ahead, can you point to your right ear? This meant Aaron must always listen to God's voice. Then, Moses put it on Aaron's right thumb. Point to your thumb. This meant he must always do God's work with his hands. And finally, Moses put it on his right big toe. Point to your toe. This symbolically showed that Aaron must always walk in God's path. So remember, listen, do, and walk. Right after that, things get really festive. With a huge burst of energy, Moses took special, crispy matzah bread, the kind made without any yeast, and placed it directly into Aaron's hands and the hands of his sons. Then, they did the wave offering. They playfully and joyfully literally waved the bread up high in the air, back and forth as a special, fragrant gift to God. It was just this awesome, active, moving demonstration of giving their very best back to the Creator.
To finish off their amazing new outfits, we get a really fun, colorful splash. Moses took a little bit of that sweet-smelling anointing oil, mixed it with the blood from the altar, and splash! He sprinkled it right onto Aaron, his sons, and their beautifully decorated garments. This effectively sealed their holy supersuits with total consecration. It was the final stamp of approval, officially locking in their divine mission.
But wait, the preparation wasn't actually over yet. Next came the ultimate campout. Under a beautiful, starry desert sky, Moses told Aaron and his sons that they had to stay right at the entrance of the tent of meeting for 7 whole days and 7 whole nights. Literally, they couldn't leave. They just hung out by the campfire, eating the specially boiled meat and the leftover matzah bread. God was spending a full week preparing their hearts and minds for the job ahead.
Throughout this entire epic ceremony, there is one major theme ringing out loud and clear. It's the phrase, Moses did everything just as the Lord had commanded him. We are seeing absolute, uncompromising obedience here. Moses didn't just guess what to do. He didn't decide to skip the toe-touching part just because it seemed kind of silly, or change the outfit because he liked a different color better. No, he followed the ultimate instruction manual exactly.
Looking back at this amazing story, we learn 4 huge lessons, which we can call the rules of the realm. First, cleansing and humility. We absolutely need clean hearts to serve. Second, consecration. We need lives that are fully dedicated to good. Third, uncompromising obedience. We must follow God's rules perfectly. And fourth, divine calling. True spiritual authority always comes from God, not from ourselves.
So as the sun rises over the glowing pyramids, we are left with a massive, exciting question. Aaron and his sons were chosen for an incredible mission thousands of years ago. They were washed, dressed in supersuits, anointed, and given a completely divine job. And all this leaves us wondering, what amazing superhero mission does God have waiting for you? Because honestly, if you keep your heart clean, stay dedicated, and listen to instructions, there's literally no limit to the incredible adventures you'll be called to do.
Thank you so much for joining our explainer today. I really hope you loved learning about this ultimate royal coronation as much as I loved sharing it with you. Remember to keep learning, stay curious, and always be ready for your special calling. If you had fun today, remember to click the bell button, like, share, and subscribe. We will see you on the next amazing adventure.